Hello everybody, this is Andrea Renda. I'm a professor of digital policy at the European University Institute School of Transnational Governance. I'm here to introduce you to an initiative that we launched recently called the Global PeaceTech Hub. And this initiative is organized together with other academics and researchers here at the EUI School of Transnational Governance, in particular with my colleague Calypso Nicolaidis, but under the coordination of Michele Giovanardi, a young researcher with a particular competence on technology, peace, and international relations. What are we trying to achieve with the Global PeaceTech Hub? Well, the idea is that there are several emerging digital technologies around the world that have a number of features that make them particularly important, particularly beneficial for society at large, but also potentially risky. Sometimes we call them general purpose technologies. I'm talking about artificial intelligence or the Internet of Things or the blockchain. They can have a variety of applications. But they also call dual use technologies, meaning that they can use to wage war and wage peace, to provide benefits to society, but also, for example, to compress and weaken human rights. So many organizations around the world have tried to champion the deployment of technologies for good and deployment of technologies in support of human rights and in support of peace. There is a wide variety of initiatives that use and that refer to specific technologies around the world. But this has happened in a rather scattered way around the world, in a rather uncoordinated way, with some realities, some entities that really have been operational for several years now with great results. What we thought was missing is an overall framework that would bring together these initiatives and would start a reflection on what do we mean by peace, what do we mean by digital technologies, and what are the many intersections between them. So the Global PeaceTech Hub is not an initiative that tries to start anew, completely from scratch, a new reflection, but rather is an attempt to federate and really build cohesion among these various initiatives around the world. So what are we trying to do? First of all, we needed partners. So we have partnered already with two other universities, the University of Lucerne, more for the international relations and peace side, and New York University, Governance Lab, for, in particular, the use of data and artificial intelligence in support of peace.
What is global peace tech? Global peace tech is a field of analysis applied to all processes, connecting local and global practices that are aimed at achieving social and political peace through the responsible use of frontier technologies. So, in summary, global peace tech is all of us, analysts, academics, experts, but also practitioners, and all of those who around the world are tapping into the better angels of our nature to channel technologies that can have a dark side and a bright side to the use and to the cause of peace.
I am Dr. Evelyn Taufman, and I'm a senior researcher at the Institute of Social Ethics at the University of Lucerne, which is a core partner of the Global PeaceTech Hub. My research focuses on the impact of the digital transformation on peace and war. In specific, I am looking at what governance strategies should be adopted from an ethics of human rights perspective. At the Global PeaceTech Hub, I am coordinating the Ethics of Human Rights in Tech Governance project. Peace, security, and the promotion of human rights are deeply interlinked and mutually reinforcing. The digital transformation has created both new opportunities as well as new risks for peace and human rights at the level of the individual, societies, states, and beyond. This calls for global governance strategies to promote the opportunities of digital technologies, while at the same time addressing the risks. Universal human rights norms are an important point of reference that can serve as a minimal ethical standard to guide policymakers in the formulation of global governance strategies. A public debate involving a wide variety of stakeholders from civil society, governments, academia and the private sector is needed to discuss how human rights are to be interpreted, properly implemented, and, if necessary, enforced in the digital age. This discussion should not only include how human rights can be applied online, but also how to avoid that digital technologies are presenting a risk to peace and human rights in general. Human rights abuses committed online can trigger physical violence offline. Digital technologies are endangered to become a tool of political repression, discrimination, and violence. Without human rights, there can be no long-term structural and cultural peace, and sooner or later, violence is likely to erupt. Peace is more than physical security only. When we search for suited governance strategies to promote peace in the digital age, human rights norms can provide us with both practical guidance and ethical orientation. Furthermore, with human rights, unlike other ethical frameworks, we don't have to start from scratch, as they have already been accepted by the vast majority of states, and certain institutional mechanisms are already in place, both at the national and international level, to monitor the respect and progress.
Hi, my name is Steph Amber. I'm the co-founder of GovLab, or Governance Laboratory, and we are delighted to be a partner of the Global PeaceTech Hub, where we try to establish a better understanding of what we mean by PeaceTech and how it can contribute to improving people's lives. PeaceTech is indeed an emerging, yet it is also a confusing field. What do we mean by PeaceTech? How can tech contribute to peace? And what are the risks involved when we start using technology for peace building? Towards that end, we have tried to develop a topic mapping, a mapping of the territory of the field of PeaceTech, in order to create a better understanding what are the technologies that are involved that can enable peace, what are some of the use cases of PeaceTech, where we clearly have seen the benefit of using technology, but more importantly also, what are some of the risks of using technology in order to instigate peace? How can it go wrong? And what are potential misuses of PeaceTech that actually undermine peace as well? And that's what our topic mapping tries to do by first focusing on the technologies for peace building. And they include both physical technologies such as drones or 3D printing, but also digital and virtual technologies, where data, for instance, emerges from digital instrumentation and can be used to understand, for instance, sentiments within conflict zone in order to prevent violence of occurring, but also virtual reality, where we can anticipate and prepare and simulate how conflict might look like so that we are better prepared for conflict. But also we tried with the topic mapping to really think about what are some of the applications and use cases, whether it's about peace building, whether it's about peacemaking, whether it's about peacekeeping, peace informant, and ultimately also conflict prevention. And as you can see, there are multiple applications where technologies can make a difference. And we really need to understand what technologies are fit for purpose and why. But obviously, as with most technologies, there is also a dark side. Peace technology can actually harm people as well if misused and if not designed in a careful and responsible way. So our topic mapping also tries to understand what are the risks of using PeaceTech, whether it's about the discrimination, profiling, or ultimately instigating conflict if PeaceTech is being used by the wrong partners as such.
Our intention is not to do this only by ourselves, but actually to crowdsource more information and thereby to build a more complete, comprehensive map on what is being done and what kind of technologies are being used, what are the use cases, and what kind of impacts, what kind of effects this is creating around the world. This is, in our opinion, needed because we are at a moment in which the use of technology is largely attracting investments in case of war and warfare, and much less in the use of technology for good. So our initiative is not just an initiative to get to know and map the initiatives on PeaceTech that are being carried out around the world. It's actually an initiative that tries to further promote the responsible uses of technologies and the myriad of use cases that powerful technologies can be applied to in order to create a more peaceful society. One good example of uses of digital technologies today for peace is all these initiatives that leverage widespread technologies and well-established technologies such as mobile phones, for example. There's a great diffusion and penetration of mobile phones in several countries around the world. So every citizen, in principle, every person can become a producer of information in real time. So systems such as Sea-Warn, initiatives such as Sea-Warn for Ethiopia or the Just Peace Lab in Myanmar do actually this. They enable people to snap pictures, send messages, and put together a number of different sources of information to enable conflict early warning, nowcasting, as we would say. Another example of this case is the Eyewitness to Atrocities launched by LexisNexis of the RELEX group. There are several of these initiatives that are basically empowering individuals to be agents of change. And they are slightly different, but they work more or less with the same mechanisms around the world. And we try to map them and group them and have them cross-fertilize and learn lessons from each other. One good example of uses of digital technologies that can be deployed almost everywhere around the world is the collection of satellite images, of messages, of videos and posts from digital volunteers. One good example of this is Amnesty Decoders, that crowdsources information of different types and data of different types and then converts that into a variety of applications, including gamification or empathy enhancing use cases. And similar initiatives include the Peace Factory. The Peace Factory posts or encourages people and volunteers to post messages on social media to spread more empathy and messages that foster harmony across conflict barriers. All this is possible thanks to digital technologies and the fact that many individuals have access to social media today. In many cases, PeaceTech is facing situations in which technology is deployed potentially against the use of technology, for example, by governments in situations of conflict. We are now facing situations in Iran where people women that don't want to wear the burqa are identified with the help of facial recognition. And everywhere around the world, there are researchers and volunteers that try to deploy technologies of resistance, if you wish, to avoid that people are tracked by governments with the help of digital technologies. So there will be a sort of a technology versus technology situation that needs to be observed, that needs to be studied, and needs to be converted into a situation in which the responsible use of technologies by government and the private sector is the dominant way of using technologies around the world.
So if global peace tech is both a praxis and an analysis of that praxis and an ethos and a mindset, all of that, then at the end of the day, we all want to ask together, how should it be governed? How should it be governed multilaterally at all levels, from the most local to the most global, in an interconnected way between actors who are empowered around the world, and in a way that is interdisciplinary and is inspired by all sorts of angles that cannot be siloed in separate disciplinary knowledges. So we're here as connectors.
We will need help along the way, certainly. We are selecting several case studies. We will produce a lot of information. We will produce seminars, webinars, papers, and additional initiatives over the coming months. But we need help because technology and peace is a combination that requires a lot of attention. And we cannot do this on our own only. Like people say normally, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Our plan is to go together in the Global PeaceTech Hub to build anyone that is interested in positive uses of technologies under the same umbrella and build a more prosperous future, technology enabled for all.